Good morning, Kenya, and welcome to News Check. My name is Njue, and for the next couple of hours, we will be looking at various issues happening around the country, but more so on the BBI. The BBI report is on everyone's lips, and you bear me witness, yesterday was a very colorful event, but also had intrigues, questions, and of course, there were even some laughter in yesterday's launch by President Uhuru Kenyatta and his BBI co-partner Raila Odinga. And that is what we will be discussing for the next 2 hours or so. Of course, we will be checking how other counties things are unfolding as well. And to help me delve into this discussion, I'm joined by two gentlemen who I'm quite sure will be having a very formidable tag team here. I have Evans Kiprotich, who is a political analyst. Welcome to the program.
Pleasure, Mr.
And
Njue.
on my extreme left, we have Wambua Kawive.
Yes.
Who is also a political analyst and a member of the Kongamano la Mageuzi. Gentlemen, karibuni sana. And kindly, let's keep this interactive at KBC Channel 1 at Njue. Remember, always the hashtag is NewsCheck. And I'll be sampling some of your comments. I would like you to be part of this discussion. Kindly send us a tweet or even a message or even at our various social media platforms, including we are live on YouTube, we are live on Facebook, and we are also live on Twitter. Straight into the discussion, gentlemen, kindly tell us something about yourself, Kiprotich.
Pleasure, Mr. Njue. Good morning, Kenya. My pleasure to be at News Desk. My name is Evans Kiprotich, political analyst and aspirant for Mount Elgon constituency. I think these are pertinent issues, important to analyze.
Yes,
and give
and even before we delve deep into the document itself, I'm quite sure you watched, if not the whole ceremony, you watched part of that. And even if you were not able to watch, at least you watched the news to know exactly what was happening at Bomas yesterday. Kindly tell us what you made of yesterday's event.
Well, yesterday was a mixture of two issues. First, I'll start from the organization. From morning, how the delegates arrived and how they were invited. I think there was something amiss from there. Two, that given that it was a conversation, what came out clearly is because the invitees were in a way like having a perspective different from others, they were a bit intolerant to some views that they thought were not as choreographed to come to applaud or give an endorsement of what was supposed to be discussed, which I thought that was a bit amiss, because here is a situation whereby we are supposed to have a national conversation on issues touching on our country, yet we have persons who have come in and made it so difficult for even the proponents of this program of BBI that they shot in their own goal.
Okay, we will be getting deeper into that. Kindly, Kawive, what did you make of yesterday's event?
First, I am Kawive Wambua. I'm a governance expert. I've worked a lot in civil society, in the county government at some point. And for me, yesterday was, to say the least, a state function. It was the president, the deputy, and other political actors meeting to have a discussion on a program that they started. I think it is a government. It was a government function, as opposed to a people's function. Yeah.
Indeed, and he has pointed out, you have pointed out, Evans, that you had an issue on the representation that was there. Some people have raised the same issues on Twitter, talking about there were so many players who are left out.
Yes,
but we saw the private industry, we've seen the church was also there represented. We've seen politicians from all walks of life, and even the opposition.
No, why I'm saying so is that there is some sense of entitlement coming out that the initiators of the BBI program, who initiated it in goodwill, so that Kenyans can have a conversation over it. There are some section of the society who feel that they want to own it and they want to run with it, and they don't want other people to give their views, which is a totally different. Because when you initiate a constitutional moment as it was initiated, you initiate it, but you leave now for Kenyans to give their views, and then at the end of the day, you don't have to say that because I'm the one who initiated it, I have to carry it, and no one should have a view whether divergent or as similar as yours. That's what came out. As opposed to be a question whereby my friend is saying clearly, true, it was initiated by the president and the former prime minister, but now it has now arrived to a table whereby all Kenyans are being invited to give their inputs. And this is where we are now. So we now say, let's move now forward. Because you remember, even the former prime minister was very clear, having quoting Isaiah 140 and the Quran, saying that now it's here. Come, let us work together. Because you're simply telling the nation, it's no longer now, though it was his baby, is now upon Kenyans now to take it, move forward. So when other actors are raising issues, yet you still have the people who had been organized to come and shout in a specific direction, handle the ball in their own box. And it became an antidote of the whole thing. Yes.
And Wambua, you've said that you're also a member of the Kongamano la Mageuzi. I'm quite sure there are some issues perhaps you had raised when there was a public participation process between when it was announced and yesterday when it was officially launched. Which are some of the things that you saw were factored in, perhaps as a member of the Kongamano la Mageuzi?
You know, number one, let's talk about this conversation from a perspective of context and issues. When you are climbing a tree, don't start at the branches. Now we are at the branches. But what is at the foundation of the problems that we have in this country? The foundation was a contested election. That's where this BBI originated. There is no way that contestation in elections is reflected in the report that shows there will be a clarity of who wins elections. I think we need to discuss that. We need to discuss that in this country, the have almost like taken over the whole space. So right now, we are having a very big problem. If you support BBI, you are pro-Raila, you are pro-Uhuru. If you don't support it, you are pro-Ruto. What kind of discourse is that? You can't discuss when you are being put in a corner. So if you support BBI, you are supporting Uhuru and Raila. If you don't support it, you are supporting Ruto. What kind of conversation are we going to have? We can't have a conversation is where you bring a document or anything to the table and you ask for people to discuss in an environment where they feel safe. Because like what happened yesterday, the shouting, the brinkmanship, all that was happening, is basically to say we are excluded as Kenyans from the conversation. Because you get in, like right now, you get in and you sound like as Kongamano la Mageuzi. We've raised quite a number of issues. Number one, why we needed a constitution and that we got in 2010 was to say the executive should not interfere with the police. The executive should not interfere with the judiciary. The executive should not be bloated. There should be a way of citizens to participate in their government. Those are foundational issues. Now, what we have in the BBI is different. When you say the president will be appointing a committee for the police, the president will be appointing an ombudsman for the judiciary. What are you saying? You are saying that the president will control the judiciary, the president will control the police. But when you say that, you are told, no, you see, you are supporting one political side. But
so they did say yesterday that these things are not cast in stone. If there's anything that we need to factor in, there is time to do the same.
They are not cast in stone. How was the committee that was writing the report constituted? Was there a participatory process?
Okay, the president did say that the deputy president was also involved, and they are part of the executive.
So he put people which are part of his system to write a report. What do you expect? They'll write a report that he is happy with.
But they did visit the 47 counties, with all due respect.
What evidence do we have that the views that were given by citizens are in the report?
Okay. Perhaps you are in a contrary opinion.
maybe just to expand what my friend has said, is that the foundation of the BBI was a 9-point agenda.
Yes. And
in this 9-point agenda, there were clearly issues that you feel do not need a constitutional amendment.
Yes.
Not even a referendum, a constitutional amendment.
Yes.
They just need implementation. Administrative, some are legislative, going direct to parliament. But all those we feel that should have been done in that line by executive or parliament have been lost. What is coming out clearly is a push to have a contestation where we need to have a referendum to exactly change the structure of governance. And I don't think that's what the Kenyans were saying. My friend has clearly said that the issue here is a contested election, whereby issues surrounding them, how do we sort them out as a country moving forward? And when those issues are raised, you find that this report is recommending things to interfere with the independence of some of those bodies that are supposed to handle, say, an election in this country, like IBC. I mean, if IBC has an issue, is a solution whereby parties appoint commissioners to it? I don't think so.
Actually, they raised an issue on the same, because if the deputy president talked about now, if the referee has to be appointed by the players, it's going to bring a problem.
Well, that's just one issue that the deputy president raised. You remember the chairman of IBC has also expressed his disapproval to this recommendation. Because at the end of the day, we have to make an IBC an umpire for posterity, not for the coming election or referendum. It should be for posterity. And it should not be that when you go back to the history of IBC, people raised objective in 1997, and the president said, let's go for the IPBG way. It never really worked well. The same thing brought us the problems of 2005, 2007. After that, we had the Krieger Commission, which made recommendation to the extent that if there are issues to be IBs, to be matters concerning elections, they should be done 2 years before an election contest. We are now 2 years into the elections of 2022. So far, nothing has been done. Yet, we have 4 commissioners out, and the proposal coming now that political parties have to appoint commissioners. How do you appoint? Which are these political parties? Who are controlling these political parties? I mean, it can't be fair. Also, there is no way that we have been yearning for independence of institutions of this country. Judiciary, my friend has said, the police, and yet you still have to heap all those powers to one institution called the presidency, now to oversee everything. We've come from there. We can't go back there. There's something that happens in the world. Whenever you give somebody something, it's difficult to remove that thing. So it's not good now to give powers to a body when we have tried to reduce it, to remove those powers. When you give it back, it will be very difficult to come back to the point.
And to rope in Wambua, still on the same point, we had a discussion where a lot of people are talking about we are supposed to have implemented some of the things that are in the BBI. We are just supposed to implement them. We are not supposed to be taking them to the BBI, because the 2010 Constitution is very clear, looking at the 2/3 gender bill, looking at the people living with disability bill that is still pending in Parliament. And of course, others are gathering dust on the same.
You know, first, before I answer your question, let me make a commentary that this BBI discussion, we need to accept as Kenyans that as a country, we need to have a dialogue. We need to have a discussion, because there are issues that are pending. Issues of extrajudicial killing, issues of historical injustices, they are still pending. Issues of land injustice. We need to discuss that. But the issue is not, should not be placed as a political contestation. So the value of a dialogue is something that we cannot understate. So we cannot discuss BBI now with the kind of polarization that there is, because objectivity will be lost. I think we need to get an opportunity for Kenyans to discuss without getting the pressure of political divisiveness. And number two, if, for instance, you go to, we say we go to a referendum. Do we have a referendum law? No, we don't have. It will be passed in a hurry. Okay? Yes. So we wouldn't have time to discuss that referendum. Do we have an organ to sort of take us through or to help us in the referendum. No, because IEBC as it is not, in my view, properly constituted.
That is true.
That is true. The mistakes of 2017
yes.
have not been resolved. So there is no independent electoral management body so that we can speak with certainty that will take care of those issues. Number three, some of the issues that are raised there that are being touted as, you need a law to implement them. They do not. You do not need any law to increase money to counties from 15 to whatever number, because the Constitution says at least 15. Yeah. So there's no reason to go take that to a referendum. But you see, it's a bait. Anybody reading the BBI and sees that clause will not have a reason not to support it. Not to support the BBI. You see, we have been tricked. We have been taken to a corner. Anybody that sees that we are saying that youth who do not have employment, who are starting businesses, be given a 7-year period
yes.
to start repaying loans with their SMEs, will not refuse that. How many people are unemployed? Who does not want a tax holiday? So we will clap for BBI. If you see that ELB, students who get loans in ELB are given 4 years grace period, and even then you have to write a letter if you don't have a job. Yes. We will applaud. So there are very specific, sweet things there.
You're saying there are so many things that have been dangled to
so that if you refuse, you look ridiculous. If you raise fundamental issues of context, you look funny. You start looking like you don't want progress. There's a problem with you. But that is exactly the political point. They have held us by the nose, and they are leading us. And that is not a way to have a conversation as a country. Yeah. Look at it now. Yes. Parliament, the one that is supposed to process some of the bills and all that, is, as it is, illegally constituted. There is an advisory that Parliament should go home. They have gone to the High Court to contest it. Fine. But the High Court has made 3 rulings before on the illegality of the same. So you see, we are being played. It's like they are the puppeteers and us, we are the puppets. So move this way, support BBI, if you don't support. That is not how to have a conversation. We need a conversation in this country, yes. And that conversation should not be led by the people who are putting us in the problems that we are in.
Evans, you want to add something?
Yeah, I want to add something that...
so that we may look at the implementation of some of the things that are in the BBI, but have not been keenly implemented in the 2010 Constitution.
Yeah. What I want to add is that these recommendations by the BBI Steering Committee, majority, or say 3/4 of them, do not need to go the direction of a constitutional change or amendment, as my friend has put it. But Kenya should understand that the conundrum of all this thing, the elephant in the room is the expanded executive, whereby we are talking of the wage bill of the country, which has ballooned. Even if you say you even want to increase 15% allocation to 35% allocation. As captured by the former Deputy Prime Minister Mudavade, if you have an expanded executive with the wage ballooning, with all the loans shipped in, which amount are you going to increase? You can increase the percentage, but the constant figure remains the same. Because if the cake is still small, it's been shared up there on the top. Yes. Even if you increase the percentage, there's nothing you're increasing. Okay. So in terms of this issue of BBI has not come clearly in terms of curing the expanded executive and trying to also cure the issue of the divisive election, as my friend has said. Because those are the 2 issues that we're having. Divisive election, expanded executive, which have been hidden, yet what is being dangled as a carrot are funny things that do not need a referendum. Okay,
perhaps on the wage bill, they've talked about, of course, the expanded cabinet, or the expanded government. Yes. We'll also be having people who are still MPs, so they won't be drawing 2 salaries as opposed to what we have now. But of course, we will get to how we are going to sort the wage bill.
Before we go on, on that point, the reason why Kenyans did not want MPs to become ministers was very clear. Separate parliament from the executive. Yes. Period. So now why are we going back there? That was in the 80s. We can't go back to, because this person is a minister, we'll listen to the president. How will they take care of the legislative agenda? Those are fundamental things that we said we don't want. Now, when they are coming back, it's like we are going back to the old ways.
Okay, of course, the Taming Wage Bill is something that the country has been trying for eons to be sorting out. But still on what I had earlier touched on the implementation, there are a lot of things that are in the 2010 Constitution that have not yet fully been implemented, but have also been floated in the BBI report.
Njue,
yes.
You have to realize that after the promulgation of 2010 Constitution, before then, we had a contested referendum where people raised that there are issues to do with 20% that had not been included. And there were those proponents of saying, change bring the issue, amend the issues, we go to referendum. Others say, no, let's go to the referendum, then amend the issues later. The 20% of the issues that were raised, in my honest view, reading this document, haven't been captured into it. That's why we had the reservation from church. Church were very clear because they raised issues of religion, family, the doctrine of family. We are an African society whereby we cherish family. We are a conservative society. Nothing has been raised in this recommendation so far. So the recommendations being put across have not captured the 20% that were that made Kenyans who voted no for this referendum. So for me, before we go to analyzing on the issues of that, which ones are supposed to be implemented and which ones are not supposed to be implemented, I think it's incumbent now upon this, upon now the president, that is now, I see that this now become a government document for him now to give the direction. And maybe, I suspect we might go the committee of experts way. And as Kenyans still read, still give views, we should be tolerant to each other's voice. Indeed. Because this document, as a former Prime Minister said, is no longer his. It's now for Kenyans to analyze, read, improve on it. And he put in a hand saying, welcome, let's work together. That's what my reading as per when I saw him yesterday. So there are issues that do not need to amend the Constitution. There are issues that were supposed to be captured clearly. Issues of agriculture, where a majority of Kenyans depend on them because we are a farming society. We need to talk about coffee, tea, maize, wheat, and we feel that these are issues. The recommendations by this committee should have made them so clear that some will need even to be implemented directly by the Minister of Agriculture. We don't need to go to referendum on some of the issues. Yeah.
Indeed, we were just talking about the implementation of some of the issues that came out in the 2010 Constitution and have not yet been implemented. Of course, we've even gone to the courts, and the courts have given directions of which some have not been obeyed. What about the reports? We've had the Kriegler report. We had several reports that are gathering dust somewhere in shelves in the government.
And I can tell you for free that even if
perhaps they should have been also factored in.
No, even if we pass the BBI, so
as it is, because at least we have a chance.
Even if, like right now, we passed it through whatever mechanism without question. Even if there was an uncontested referendum, because that's one of the options they're looking at, you will have those recommendations gathering dust. Why? We lack political will to implement the Constitution. And I was saying that. Perhaps the greatest mistake we made as a country was in 2013, where people who were not supporting the Constitution that we passed in 2010, we elected them to be deputy and to be president. Uhuru in 2010 was the Minister for Finance. He did not give money for civic education on the Constitution. He did not allocate that vote. Ruto was in the no camp. He fought against the passing of the Constitution. But we elected them. So that's a mistake we have to live with. But the issues there, number one, the independence of the police. What happened? We changed their uniform. Period. That is the only thing that has changed in the police.
Of course, from the police force, we now have a police service. And of course, there are other institutions that also support the National Police Service.
The name, I give you that. The name and the uniform. I agree.
Only. There have been tremendous steps that have been taken.
The level of extrajudicial killings, because that's what people were saying, that we do not want the police to be against citizens. We want them to work with us. But today, even during this COVID time, there have been many cases of judicial killings and disappearances that have happened. And there's no accountability that's happening. Yeah. So that's something that has not been there. And then number two, judiciary. Judiciary to be given money, judiciary to expand, people to access justice. You know the wars that Maraga has been fighting about money to the judiciary being cut, and the revisitation. So the judiciary is not independent. Now we see what's happening. Look at the constitutional commissions, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. Today, those commissions are just paying salaries. They are not implementing programs because there is no money. They have been defunded. So those are institutions that are supposed to protect citizens. They are unable to carry out that mandate. Look at the issues articulated in Article 43 of the Constitution, socio-economic rights. Today, Kenyans are poorer than they were in 2010. Today, opportunities for work, the accommodation of young people in the market has not happened.
But the BBI has addressed issues concerning the youth, as you mentioned.
Before we come to the BBI, because that's a proposal, why has it not been done? Why do we have Kenyans, even recently, during this COVID-19 plague, Kenyans being sent away, their houses being destroyed by the government?
But all that cannot be addressed by the BBI.
But it was there. Why has it not been addressed? The Constitution, Article 43, says that safe housing, water, creation of employment, food, where are those things? And like agriculture. What mechanism is there to support maize farmers in Kitale? Today, there are harvest roads. What mechanism has been put in place to support cane farmers in Western Kenya? Today, cane farming is not profitable as a business. So the institutions that are supposed to support Mwananchi, they are not there. And the last one, devolution. Devolution was about functions and roles going closer to the people so that service provision does not become problematic. Today, most of the agricultural functions are county functions. Most of the health functions are county functions. Most of the roads functions are county functions. Where is the money? At the national level.
Okay, let's look at
a little bit. Njue, in as much as I agree with my friend, I hold a different view when they started saying that maybe Kenyans made a mistake by electing the president as deputy. I have a view that they presented themselves.
Yes.
And they
they never imposed themselves to Kenyans, and Kenyans made a choice.
Twice, actually.
Maybe thrice.
Thrice. In 2017, twice.
So on that note, my friend, the Kenyans have to live with the choices they made. So they never impose themselves.
Choices have consequences.
Right. I agree. So let's agree with that, so that there was no mistake.
Yes, that's true.
And I thank you that he has agreed. So on the expanded executive and coming to the point of even expanded parliament,
which of course was supposed to solve the first problem of inclusivity. And of course, looking at what we have right now and what BBI has proposed, of course, even if it's costlier, it's far much inclusive than what we are currently having.
No, it's not inclusive.
Why do you say that?
It's not inclusive because, inclusivity is not just at the level of parliament. Inclusivity is if you see the country in totality.
Yes.
There are communities or persons in this country that presented their views to this committee of BBI. But you see they have not been captured. Minorities. I come from a community that has been gerrymandered in a way that half of it is in Uganda, half of it is in Kenya. In Kenya, half of it has been also gerrymandered that in 2 counties. Yet, when I went home over the weekend, the question I was being asked by the folks is that, has this BBI given us a county, as exposed by the former Prime Minister because he always refers to the Sabot community and the Kuria community. When I told them, let me read. When I perused through it, none of those issues were captured. So they don't understand. For them, if these recommendations have nothing to do with the minorities in this country, have nothing to do with the issues that affect the common man. It should not be said, but that is cured by coming to expanded parliament, legislature, or the presidency. Because here, when it comes to expanding of parliament, when you have the 2010 constitution, it gives a clear guideline. How do we get the 290 constituencies elected, plus the 47 women, plus the 15 or 12 who are nominated? 16. This one is in Parliament, in National Assembly. This one is recommending 290 elected, direct by the people.
Yes.
Then you have another 70 gerrymandered to the point that you don't know where they are coming from. If now you say of a constituency like Mount Elgon that since 1963, since the inception of this country, 1963, this constituency has never been divided at all. It has remained a single constituency since 1963. Then you tell them that now you have to pass this.
You're saying these people don't grow in number.
That's the biggest question.
Yes.
That you are telling them now that here is a situation whereby you should pass this expanded legislature, yet the 70 hasn't even considered one addition in your constituency. They can't fathom what's happening. So the question here is on this 70, how are they spread out? What method is BBI recommending for their coming into effect? Are they from minority? Are they from the civil society, from the way he's exposing?
So you're saying there's a grey area?
There's a grey area there on the National Assembly.
Yes.
When it comes now to the expanded now Senate, it makes a joke of it. I mean, you are saying we are increasing the number, but removing the meat. So you square out with the bones that are remaining.
But the 47-47 is not quite balanced?
No, it's not balanced because it's coming to about 94. From the current 47 senators to 94.
Yes.
And when you increase to 94, what are their roles? You don't cure the issue of gender balance or imbalance by saying I'm adding here, I'm increasing here the numbers. And the issue is not about the number of women we need to add. The issue is about the role of women in the society. You increase the number, they have no role. What they went to fight in Beijing was not about the numbers. They went to Beijing saying that we want to play a role in the governance and of this Republic of Kenya. We want to be at the center of it. We want to discuss issues that affect women, and the issues that affect women affect the society. But here, when you are increasing them or increasing the number, saying we are lumping you to the corner of the downgraded Senate, what are you telling them? They have nothing. They have no role to play in the society.
Even the new allocation from 15% to 35%. Of course,
of what? The question is of what? You know, when you increase the percentage, there's a difference when you increase the percentage and you are reducing the wholesome figure. If you are reducing the wholesome figure from 10 to 5, even if you increase the percentage from 15 to 35, but 35 of what? The 35 of 5 or of 15 that has been increased. That's where the challenge is.
I believe there's a big win for devolution here from 15% to 35%, don't you think?
I told you earlier that BBI is not about Kenyans winning. So there's no win.
Are you saying this document is not going to help Kenyans?
Today, if we wanted to
looking
increase
at all the 9 issues that were pointed out when the BBI the task force was mandated to actually look into those 9 issues.
The 9-point agenda.
Yes, the 9-point agenda. And of course, the inclusivity was one of them. And of course, increasing allocation for devolution. Of course, we were talking about increasing allocation to devolution to strengthen devolution. Looking at now, as Kiprotich was talking about, now we have 47, they've recommended 47 male and 47 females. Do you think it's a big win, of course, for devolution when it comes to the funding?
I think it's a carrot, because what...
But it's a juicy one, if you ask me.
Yes, I agree totally.
For counties, and the wards, 5%.
I agree with you.
Of what figure?
You know, you need to hear what I'm saying, because I am not disagreeing with you.
Yes.
The only point is perspective. How do you look at it? Because this is put together with it's like putting a carrot together with stones. Yeah? Yes. So you pass the whole bucket. Everybody wants more money to go to the counties. Everybody wants representation of women to be clear and determined and to meet the 2/3 gender rule, progressively towards 50%. Yeah? But, so when they say it's going to 35, it's a very good thing. But is it forbidden now? Can it be done without changing the constitution? Why do we want to change the constitution? Why must we change the constitution for things that you can do without changing the constitution? That is the point. And that is the point that we need to argue about. Because
we're talking about the implementation of what was supposed to be implemented in the 2010 constitution that has not fully been
If it has been implemented, like for instance, if the roles and functions and budgeting followed functions, so that then when there's a function going to the counties, the money for that function goes down. We would have met the 35 or 45 threshold by now, automatically, because the function would have gone and the money would have gone. Today, as we speak, if you have a dispensary in your ward or location, that dispensary, the overheads of the dispensary are still paid by the ministry at Nairobi, directly to the dispensary. Those functions have never gone to the county, and that's a small thing. If you go to roads, most of the roads that have got big tenders are still being done by Kera and Kura and the National Highways Authority. So and the people being asked the questions are governors. The people being asked those questions about what this is not being done are people who are in the county governments. But the money has not gone. So if that money had gone to the counties, we would have solved that problem. So these roles, if they had been clearly defined and the money for those roles devolved, we would not be having this conversation. It would be necessary. So implement the 2010 Constitution. Tekeleza Katiba. And we will have not many of these issues being raised here.
Indeed.
We can't continue having a conversation.
A very interesting conversation we're having here. And remember, we are live on our Facebook, on our Twitter, and also on our YouTube channel. So kindly hit us up. We appreciate your feedback. Watching from Bungoma, the show is very nice. That is Suba Rebecca. Watching from Tana River County, Gilbert Kimadi. Somebody asked what exactly is uncontested referendum. Keith Dickey watching from Kilifi County. Thank you so much. Watching the show from Alego, Siaya County. Victor Mar Siaya. John Ochomba, the show is good. John from Sona Records in Kisii. Perhaps we can respond to that on the uncontested referendum. Of course, it's quite different from what we had in 2005 with the bananas and the oranges.
An uncontested referendum is where all the parties agree. So there's no party that says no, there's no party that says yes. But it's a new thing being brought in. And so it has to go to the people for the people to vote for it. So there's no no or yes. But the vote has got a threshold. A threshold of like 50% of Kenyans, you know, when they vote and pass it, then there was no contestation. It's just a question of numbers, a simple majority vote.
Indeed. Let's look at the expanded cabinet. Well, no, let's not call it cabinet, executive. You've talked about it's not inclusive. Kindly shed light on that, because I'm quite sure all the 5 positions, the president, we have the deputy president, we have we have the prime minister and the deputy prime ministers. Those are 5. Different from what we are having, the president and the deputy. Because they are from 2 communities. And I'm quite sure the 5 cannot be from the same community. Why are you saying that does not count as an inclusive government?
First, it's also instructive that to our viewers and people watching us, that we are raising these issues to enrich the document.
Yes.
We are not raising it that we are saying we are opposing it.
Yes.
We are just saying that these are gaps that we need to...
Indeed.
This is a conversation that has been open for all of us.
We need a conversation.
Actually. You know, when... in the 2010 Constitution,
yes,
you compare the executive that was there, is there, that we are in currently, it became more leaner as compared to what we used to have. Because now we have the president, the deputy president, plus with the clear mandate and functions, and the cabinet, where we say now we no longer want politicians to be in cabinet, because we want to separate the executive and the parliamentarians or politicians, so that we get people who work for the Republic of Kenya. What has been proposed or recommended is a very strange issue that can easily lead or take this country to a difficult path. When you say every election is always divisive, and an election that is divisive, as ours, the BBI was coming with a view that we want to cure this divisiveness. What they have proposed has nothing to cure the divisiveness. Here they are saying, okay, we want to recognize the leader of opposition, but we have a president with the sweeping powers, who will appoint a vice president from his people from among the members of parliament, who will appoint the prime minister, who will appoint the two deputy prime ministers. I mean, the winning group will have it all. We are now moving from the winner take it to the winner take everything. This is what is being proposed. So for my view,
yes,
it should be looked clearly that we are saying we want an inclusive society, whereby a scenario whereby even if one loses as a presidential candidate, the suggestion here among the people propagating the BBI is that these people the loser should also have something. But we think, is that loser having official opposition the way they used to have?
But they have talked
yet we have
strengthening the leader of official opposition office, of which
we don't need a referendum for that. You can just say Parliament can pass under the
before you go to the referendum.
So that when we are having all these expanded executive,
yes, the
president, you cannot tell me that you can have a vice president with no motorcade. You cannot tell me you have a prime minister with no office and the system that come with that, that befits that office. All are about resources to take care of it. In fact, someone was making a calculation when we have all these things, because you see that Kenyans are good at mimicking. Once you have this thing at the top executive, don't be surprised county is also mimicking the same thing. That even me as a governor, I should have appoint somebody as a deputy.
Of course, there's a law.
There's a mimic that will go down to the constituents.
Let me tell you.
There's a law on the same. What do you have to say on that?
I want to say that the expanded executive,
yes,
and the problem that we have is that it is going to end up being a discussion between 5 or so communities. Where are the rest of Kenyans? The leader of the party that will have a majority in parliament, who becomes the prime minister, yeah, will definitely be from a majoritarian community. And so that's a question of, like, you take the 5, I call them barons, the 5 or 6 barons, and you give them positions to make them shut up. They are in government. So what will we have? We will have everybody quiet and eating, and everybody else here, Kenyans now, all of us quiet. I think that is the biggest danger that we are getting into. And number 2, that this expansion is also controlled by the presidency, so to speak, except for the leader of official opposition, who will now go into parliament, a parliament that is controlled by the executive. There will be nothing for Kenyans. It is, the basis of constitution making was to transfer power from the executive to citizens.
Yes.
Now, that control of power has been resisted from 2010, has been resisted very much by the political barons. And now BBI wants to legitimize that resistance, to say that we want all of us at the top to talk, and then you other people, you can shut up or join us. You get?
Yes.
That is what that expanded executive means, that there will be space for all the big community, national politics noisemakers, the people who we expect to support and to protect the citizens, those of us who do not have access to state power and resources. That protection is going. And we will be left in a situation where Kenya would be worse off.
Which one would be good or better for the country?
There's a framework that was set in the Constitution, and I'll go back to it, to say that the accountability mechanisms for governance in this country rests, and the sovereignty rests with Kenyans.
Yes.
So the president does not sit on the budget. The president does not make decisions of who is to become what. But there is an objective process of getting people. The best process is where institutions that support citizens, institutions that offer services, institutions of government that have got the responsibility of ensuring equitable distribution of resources are free, independent, and objective. That has been taken away. Yeah.
And perhaps away from the expanded executive, let's look at what ANC leader Musalia Mudavadi talked about, and it's a conversation that of course has generated a lot of discussion as well. Our debt ceiling, actually, the country is in quite a huge debt.
Yes,
and
yes.
also he talked about yes, we are talking about from 15%, 35%, but we need to strengthen devolution.
I'm happy that you brought this issue because one, Musalia Mudavadi is speaking in that sense, and it actually like saw the president on the eye and said, "Me and you, we have been this hot seat."
Yes.
The treasury is a hot seat. Fact is, we're having a ballooning wage bill. We're having debts. We're having loans. So that the current common Kenyan who is paying tax, I think 60 or 40% of our tax are not going for any recurrent expenditure, but they are going towards servicing the loans that have been accumulated over time.
Yes.
And you see the appetite of any government to get loans or these instruments are very high. You remember when the handshake came in, they went back to China. Is a story down the line. We saw the same thing when the president went to France 2-3 weeks ago. We are just told that the framework was signed, no loan or dispensed. So what we are loading on to Kenyans are more of loans and loans and loans. The cake that we are producing to be shared is shrinking each and every day. And when that cake in the basket has shrunk, even if you increase the percentage of allocation, you allocate what? I was also saying that we should also allocate the debts to the common man in the account, because they are still carrying the debts.
Yes.
So for me, that when you talk about increasing 15% to 35%, a wonderful idea. When you're talking about 5% to the wards,
yes.
Say if how much is going to as per the current revenue allocation, going to the counties is about say 400 billion cash shillings. Say some counties are getting between say 8 to 10 billion shillings. So say 10 billion, 5% of that is going to a specific to ward, to the wards, so that wards can share. You know, it's not just that the 5% of that going to one specific ward, but 5% has been allocated, and then the wards have to share the 5%. The question is, what came from top? If we are having an expanded executive,
yes,
taking care of all these things, and the expanded executive does not mean only the top level. It goes even to the executive of the county level. So still, the percentage will have increased, the loan will have increased, but what's coming to the ground is minimal.
Perhaps before, hold the thought. Right now, we need to go to Chester House, where the National Youth Council is having a seminar. Let's listen in to what they have to say. Of course, it will add a lot on what we are discussing here. National Youth Council, yes.
To see how can we make this better for our young people. And we wrote what we called a common youth position, amalgamating all the voices, the ones who had submitted comments to the BBI task force, the ones who were looking to submit, what do you call them, memorandums. And so we had student leaders, we had the Kenya Association of, it's called the MPs, KYPA, Kenya Youth, Kenya Young Parliamentarians Association, Kenya Young members of the County Assembly, student leaders. I think most of you know about the Youth for BBI. You know about youth-serving organizations like the Youth Agenda, Power 254, and we put all those agencies, and I'm sorry if I'm not mentioning you and you are part of the process, and we basically tried to see what is it, if we were to get just a few things, what were these things that we wanted, and we put what we called a common youth position and submitted that to the steering committee when they were doing the validation process. And we did not just write it, we followed in the regional meetings. I think we sent a delegation to Kakamega, we sent a delegation to Kitui, we sent a delegation to Meru, so that we could also get the endorsement of the elders and the leaders from the communities. After that, we followed with the task force to lobby them so that they could include our observations for young people in the BBI report, and I'm happy to note that they did. This BBI report is not perfect, but it has very strong proposals for young people. And as you heard also from the president yesterday, the youth agenda is one of the main two issues that this BBI report is supposed to resolve. Jipigeni makofi kama vijana. And I think that speaks to the value of engagement, of participating, that we were able to elevate the youth agenda to be a primary and core issue for the BBI process. And so going forward, we must maintain that presence of mind, that strong position of young people's interest, so that we are able to secure the gains that have been given therein. Now, I will highlight a few of what it is that we asked for and what it is that we got. One thing that we had definitely spoken very, very strongly about is on the issue of shared prosperity. And we said young people don't have wealth in their hands. We don't own land. When we try to do business, we are brokered left, right, and center. There are cartels in everything you try to do. You try to bring cabbages to wakulima, unapatana na cartel. You try to do sand farming in Machakos, unapatana na cartel. And what we wanted is for the value chains to be cleared for young people to be able to make an honest and decent livelihood. We were also talking about expansion of the economy, because until we expand our economy, our young people will not have jobs. The issue of pending bills. Young people wamesoteshwa na hii mambo ya pending bills. Kijana anaenda anapata tenda, alafu pesa yake inakwama kwa wizara for half a year, 1 year, and we wanted that resolved. So what did we get? We have gotten the prompt payment bill. What that means is you get paid within 60 days, or it becomes a dispute and it is resolved by a tribunal. Jipigeni makofi. We have also gotten the tax break, like everybody has spoken about. That means if you leave university at the age of 24, you can start a business and you do not have to have a conversation with government until you are how old? 31. Until you are 31 years old. Hakuna mtu anakuja kukuitisha kodi. No income tax, no VAT, nothing. Complete tax break. That is a big win for our generation and the young people who are younger than us. We must clap for ourselves. I understand the concerns around the word biashara mashinani, but I will tell you this. I'm sure many of us, when we finished school, tulika nyumbani kidogo, you have all these ideas brewing in your mind. You think you could do this as a business, you could do that as a business as you try to solve problems for your community. But you really didn't know where to go, who to ask for advice, how to start. You don't even know if it is a business you can register. You really have no idea. Those ward entities for biashara mashinani are going to help young people to activate their thoughts and create the businesses they would like to create. So you're going to have business development support. You are going to be able to access capital, and you're going to be able to access markets. That is the work of that entity at the grassroots. That is a huge gain for our young people who live in the rural areas. We are 13.7 million of us. 8 million are still living in the rural areas. So the fact that that element is included kwa mashinani is very important for young people who still reside in the rural areas. And that is 60% of us, and we are happy about that particular provision. I believe one of the other strongest proposals that is in the BBI report is that the issue of productivity in terms of economic production, cottage industries, the industrialization, manufacturing, all that is now included in the BBI report. And get this, the Constitution is now no longer going to be talking about sharing. It is also talking about producing, creating wealth and prosperity. And that is going to be included in the Constitution by amending an article, which I think I forgot to document, but there's an article that will be amended to speak about production, so that we have the wealth, so that we can share it. Before we share something, we have got to create it. I think that's the much I can share so far about shared prosperity without getting into too much of those details. There is a lot on shared prosperity. In fact, the report mentions the word economy 153 times. That is, I think, more than the pages of the BBI report itself. So it means there is more than one word in every page in that particular report. So it is very, very strong on issues of economics. Of course, in comparison to the first report. Actually, the first BBI report, the main report, not the summary. Kulikuwa na ile ilikuwa summary. Ile main one, haikuwa na the word youth. Did you notice? And now youth is mentioned how many times in the current BBI report? Sisi tunashukuru wadau ambao wali-engage kwa hiyo process na wakatuletea hizo benefits.
Indeed, those are some of the officials from the National Youth Council at Chester House, where they're having a presser talking to stakeholders on the BBI report. And gentlemen, kindly perhaps we can touch on that before we wind up. Youth, of course, they've talked about the youth, 60% residing in the rural areas. And remember yesterday, the women rep, Waruguru, also talked something about the youth. And also the president did talk about the youth being a ticking time bomb, if not well utilized, and especially when it comes to politics.
Let me tell you. BBI, I said at the beginning, is a government project. So there will be a lot of voices saying that they like the BBI. That one I can give you for free. But none of them will go to the depth to see what is the origin of this problem. What is it that we are trying to cure? And as we go on, many groups like this, National Youth Council and all that, will be talking about it. But if we are having a youth bulge, and 60% are youth, and they are talking about the 4 years and the 7 years for business and all that, have we discussed what is at the root of the fact that the youth do not have jobs?
Yes.
No, it has not been discussed. It's a proposal that has been made. And I want to go back to the issue of debt and very briefly talk about it. That when Moi exited the scene, both Moi and Kenyatta had an accumulated debt of about 700 to 800 billion.
Yes. It was less than a trillion.
Kibaki came in. Yes. And in 10 years, he added another 700. It became to 1.5 for 10 years.
Yes.
Now, up to 8 years, this month, we have the debt has gone to 7.1 trillion. Where has that money gone? Let's take an example of the Eurobond. The Eurobond, which was about 250 billion, did not even get to this country. It disappeared between Europe and here.
All right.
The issue of debt is something that we need to
be very careful
about. And we need to realize also, like, overall, the problem that we have is one of the goodwill of the political actors to implement even the good things that have been proposed in the BBI, in the Constitution, in whatever. The goodwill is lacking. I think that's critical. Look at the Asian economies. They were transformed in a very short time, Hong Kong and wherever. What is happening in our country? Why are we having politicians 25 years into politics and no transformational agenda?
Okay. Perhaps Kiprotich, you can add on that, because we also have some Twitter responses that we need to respond to.
On the issue of Youth Commission, is that you see currently in the current Kenyan setup, you have several youth programs. We have the new National Youth Council, you have the Youth Fund, we have several of those things. When I saw yesterday Waruguru raise this issue and speak on behalf of youth, I got shocked a bit, because I expected Sakaja to come, raise the issues, explain so far how has it gone with the issue of the startup that has been going around, and he already has a legislation about it. For me, having a commission, we don't need a referendum or to include in a constitutional contest. These are things that should have been done, and Sakaja has a proper roadmap. Because other than this issue of a commission, the truth of matter is that we have a generation that is impatient, that has no jobs, that are jittery, and we have to find a way, as the president said, how to address it. So in a nutshell, even this issue of having a discussion of why do you give this group a wheelbarrow or this is, the fact is that most of our youth, despite having gone to school, they are still doing manual jobs, and the manual jobs require tools that are available. So the Youth Commission, we don't need to go this direction. We just need a proper setup as legislation that's happening. We also have other commissions that have been proposed, which are good, like the Health Council Commission, Health Commission, which is something very important because all our doctors and nurses have been having issues. So if we have them properly structured, which maybe that's one of the strengths and the positive things that I saw from these recommendations, the Health Council, though it needs to be properly structured. And implemented. It will be very ideal and very important.
Thank you so much, but we have run out of time. But Ian Bogo is talking about no laws will ever be useful if those in power decided which to follow and which to ignore. We can also pick this one from Original Neo at Nelson Gishoki. If we can't implement the 2010 Constitution amendments and the Constitution itself, how then can the politicians implement the BBI itself with its errors and tabulation and irrelevant clauses? Political fad. And perhaps the last one, the whole structure of government is always in a constant trend in the violation of the Constitution. Amendments is not the solution. Impunity and dynasties is Kenya's problem. This is Eliza A. Kenya, and talking about if the dog cannot fetch, how do you expect it to sit and roll over? Some of your responses, and of course we are continuing with this discussion, but we are also going to be looking at the church. Of course, you do remember the 2010 Constitution, the church had some issues on the same, and yesterday, of course, the church was one of the key players invited at the launch of the BBI report. And indeed, in case you're joining us, this is News Check, and I've been speaking to two gentlemen, Evans Kiprotich, who is a political analyst, and Wambua Kawive, who is also a political analyst and a member of the Kongamano la Mageuzi. And as you rightly put it, we are trying to fortify the BBI report, not oppose it. Of course, we are also crossing over to the National Youth Council. That discussion is not yet over. And of course, we're going to be touching that in relation to what they have talked about in the Youth Council and, of course, the church's voice on the BBI report. We're back in a moment.
Dikakamua, I go for this public participation. I check the budget that was approved by the governor. There is no correlation. Then you're told, no, that was draft 1. No, that was draft 3. No, there's a final draft. Nobody knows which one is the final draft, where your comments disappeared to, and even the room you are in, you do not remember the things that have been passed, where they came from. So we need an accountability mechanism for public participation. We also need to be able to engage with public participation conveniently. So what we want is a digitized public participation process. So that kijana akiwa kwa simu yake na kuna public participation inafanyika, anaweza tupa maoni kwa email, anaweza tupa maoni kwa form fulani imepeanwa, na hizo comments zinakuwa on record. Alafu, this person who's been proposed now in the BBI report, who is the public participation rapporteur, is able to keep an account and say, all the people of this county, this is what they said, and this is what they asked for. And then they check, was that adhered to by the governor? Was that adhered to by a ministry? Was it adhered to by the state corporation? So that we don't have people who do public participation come up PR, which is what has been happening. Ama wanafanya mikutano saa yenye hakuna mtu anaonekana, wanaleta maguns wao, na hiyo story inaenda hivyo. So you're told you're public participating, but you're really not. And that was a huge concern for young people, and we are happy that the BBI report has very strong propositions about the issue of accountable public participation. So I want to close my submission this morning by saying that all these things that are in the BBI report, they're very, very good, are founded also on the pursuit for what we are calling durable peace. Durable peace. Because let me tell you, when we have elections and there is a problem in the electoral process. We are the ones who get mobilized to go fight. Some of us actually die. Some of us, our businesses disappear into thin air and we are left broke. Then when people reconvene and come back to their senses, they reestablish peace. But we are already dead. We are already broke. So it does not help us to have intermittent peace. It does not help us to have peace for 3 years, then 2 years of chaos. Peace for 3 years, 2 years of chaos. We want to be able to have a predictable future as young people. Right? And so this is what this BBI is about. We resolve hiyo kelele inatokanga kwa siasa. Whoever you are, utapata nafasi. Mukisha ingia kwa hizo manafasi, sisi hatutaki kujua, within 7 days mumemaliza, we are all able to go back to our lives. None of us have died. We are not broke, and we are able to continue with our plans for the future. Because the future is ours. And a wise mind said that the only way to predict the future is to create it. So, what the BBI is doing, young people, is creating a future of durable, enduring peace, which makes it possible for us to pursue our dreams, to imagine and create and grow and thrive. And that, for us, is a huge win because the future is ours. Asanteni sana. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Tafadhali tumuongeze makofi ingine. Tumuongezeni makofi ingine. So now we still want to get some more feedback from the panel, from the plenary. Tafadhali, we are going to be led by our brother Johnston Daniel, just to ensure that kama uko na swali yote, nainua mkono tu, we are here to answer. Yes, yes. Asante, any comment, anything?
Okay, I can already see hands up. As you said, the name is Johnston. Yes.
I think the most important thing for the moment is where we feel this is a tick, where we feel we need to add more value, let's add value. So that then from this meeting, we get a lot of the direction way for the young people.
Makofi tafadhali.
KBC, in collaboration with the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, is broadcasting enhanced out-of-class learning on radio, television and online. Catch the lessons every weekday on KBC Channel 1 from 2 to 4 p.m, on KBC English Service and 15 FM from 9:15 a.m. to 5 p.m, and Radio Taifa from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. KBC English Service, Radio Taifa and 15 FM are also available countrywide on the free-to-air Signet digital TV platform, or log on to www.kbc.co.ke for live streaming, or download the KBC Online app on Google Play Store. Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, ensuring learning no matter what.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Utamtafuta.
Z.
Utamtafuta.
Ongoi sijui.
What are you going on about? You have your place in his life. You always will. You're his family. More like a trailer. Easily detached when not needed.
Decide what you want, Wanjala. Go for it.
What did you do?
I followed him home.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
Kiachana mimi. Lucky achane. Huyu ni mtu wa legend.
When your booty got show me now. Baby, one time. Bossy baby, give me 2 times. Full 180. Crazy.
Let's go. Ha. I needed some with some Bobby. Mamacita, where you at? I've been trying to reach you.
Katoto shepu awe, ayawe, ayawe.
Tekenya katoto, kamini tekenya, tekenya katoto.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Seems you need to take better care of your wife because she takes advantage of every opportunity to get close to Ramon.
Sophia.
I am not prepared to lose you, Ramon.
I don't want to have anything to do with you. This is over, Sophia. I've had enough. It's over. I'm done playing the fool over again.
Francisco, calm down. You're really starting to scare me.
Andrea and I love each other.
What's that?
Yes, we have been in love all our lives.
Not letting you leave.
Let go of me. I never want to see you again.
In love with Ramon.
Welcome back. Indeed, this is News Check. And of course, the second hour, as I had told you earlier, is that we will be delving into the matters BBI, and especially when it comes to the church's views. Of course, yesterday the church was well represented, but we will be getting deeper into that a little bit later. My name is Njue, and Lucy Mwaura is our sign language interpreter for this hour. And right now I'm joined by Bishop David Dagana, who is the Bishop for Glory Outreach Assembly, that is GOA. Karibu sana, Bishop.
Asante sana, Bwana Njue.
And I hear you wear other hats, kindly.
Thank you. Yes, my name is Bishop David Munyere Dagana. I am the founder and the presiding bishop of Glory Outreach Assembly, GOA, which God helped me to start 29 years ago, while I was a teacher at Karioma Girls High School. And then God called me and I stopped teaching and focused on that. So, and I am also the General Secretary of the Federation of Evangelical and Indigenous Churches of Kenya. And I am also the International Director for International Leadership Institute in the English and Swahili-speaking countries in Africa.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, karibu sana.
Asante sana.
Of course, when we saw the church being well represented yesterday at the Bomas of Kenya, of course, we talked about the BBI being a remedy, so it reminded me of the Esther Wahome song, Kunadawa, perhaps a remedy to what is ailing the country. You did watch the launch yesterday, right?
Yes, I did.
And before we go to your views, I remember Bishop David Ominde did talk about a lot of issues, but first things first, let's have Let's listen in to what he had to say yesterday in regards to the BBI.
As a religious community, our greatest concern for the nation is peace. That we live in a peaceful environment where everybody is able to do that which they would want to do without interference, without fear of anything happening to them. And so, over the years, we have tried our best to be peace brokers for this country. I was privileged in 2017, after the contested results of the elections, that I was part of a small team that from the diplomatic community, from the business sector, from civil society, and the religious communities under the leadership of the former U.S. Ambassador Robert Godek. For several months, we engaged in a shuttle diplomacy, committed to seeing this country get back to normalcy. Sadly, both sides were extremely hard. And I can tell you it was one of the most difficult responsibilities that I've ever had. It therefore came as a great and pleasant surprise when Your Excellency and Right Honorable Prime Minister stood on the steps of Harambee House in the famous handshake. We were delighted that you also spoke of creating a national conversation on issues that bedevil this nation every electoral season. This has been one of our key plans to create a national conversation. In fact, our group was loosely known as National Conversation. Your Excellency, I say all this to let you know that the spirit of national conversation has been with some of us for a very long time, well before BBI. This is because we have believed that unless and until we address the cancer that eats this nation, we will never have enduring peace. To continue with business as usual is to deceive ourselves. It is just a matter of time, and this country will one of these days explode to unquenchable flames. For this reason, we want to unequivocally laud the efforts that have been made by the steering team and by your leadership in addressing these issues. Your Excellency, we, however, have some very serious concerns. In this nation, we have developed a very dangerous tendency of politicizing everything. Even a very important matter as constitution-making gets shrouded in political intrigues. That is why we are finding ourselves with laws that cannot satisfy the desire of the political class, but do not effectively address our national needs and aspirations. It is in this light that I want to plead with our political leaders. Please allow the current process to objectively lay a foundation for the future of this nation. We must therefore remember that the laws you make today will tie your hands and your feet tomorrow. The liberties you take away today will imprison you tomorrow. It is most unfortunate that the politics of our nation is based on divide and rule. Politicians somehow believe that the only way to succeed is to divide us into dichotomous categories of us versus them. Yet, political interests shift rapidly. Between 2017 and 2020, the political formations have changed significantly. In fact, I want to prophesy that it will not be a surprise before 2022 that Dr. William Ruto and Honorable Raila Odinga will be on the same side. It is a fact that no nation has ever become great through division. The Bible is clear that where there is unity, the Lord commands a blessing. A cord of 3 strands cannot be broken. Your Excellency, perhaps it is time that hustlers should pause their hustling for a moment, and the reggae dancers pause their dance for a moment and join together in a serious Jerusalem dance for the sake of the peace and the unity of this nation. After all, DJ Master KG and his sister remind us that the New Jerusalem is our ultimate home. Finally, Your Excellency, in 2005 and in the 2010 referendum, the church said no because of various major principles. We would like to see this addressed. We have noticed that the pillar of religion and faith seems to be completely missing. Furthermore, the Religious Freedom Bill that was to help the registration of religious groups seems to have been left out. Issues of marriage and family need to be taken care of. Your Excellency, we want to assure you that as a Christian community, after this launch, we are going to review the report and make our position known. If we choose to support it, it will be because we believe it is good for the country. If we find anything contrary, we will call for appropriate amendment. God bless you and thank you for a great work. Amen.
Indeed, that was an extract from yesterday's launch of the BBI report. That was Bishop David Omindo of the Christ is the Answer Ministries. Of course, he was lauded for that short address to the nation and, of course, to the people who had congregated at the Bomas of Kenya. Interesting. Bishop, first things first, what do you make of yesterday's event before you even go to what Omindo had to say yesterday?
Thank you very much, Bona Njue. I watched the entire event, and I think I must appreciate the fact that we have come to that point where the presentation of the report would be made public, like it was done. That is great. Knowing the process and all the correction of views and the journey that has taken. I also appreciate the fact that the views may have been consolidated into a report, because gathering views from 45 million Kenyans and putting them into something is not an easy thing.
Yes.
Yesterday's, there are a few things that really caught my attention yesterday. One of them was the fact that as a nation, going by the event of yesterday, that we have improved a lot in the culture of listening to each other and tolerating. We have improved on that. Why I say that is everyone who stood and spoke, the other people were willing to listen and responded very well. However, there was that part where that changed, where the deputy president was speaking, and then there was a bit of heckling and kind of telling him to sit down. That was not a good picture, and I think that kind of undermined the entire excitement and harmony of the entire day. And let me say right at the onset of our discussion that it is so important that we learn to listen to each other. It is so important that we tolerate the views of each other, even if they are divergent. And that is a mark of growth. It's a mark of development. It's an aspect of democracy. When you listen to me and I listen to you, whether you agree with me or you don't, I think it is in proper decorum. It is important that people allow each other to present their views and say what they're saying. So that part I didn't like. And it left me with some questions also.
Yes.
It left me with the questions as to whether who was invited to that event and why were they invited. Of course, there are those who invite. It was a good picture to see various representation of Kenya, right from the political divide to different aspects, economic, speaking on behalf of the various constituents that they stand for.
Yes.
But the heckling and the shouting left me thinking there might have been some who may have come just to do that with the self-interest.
Yes, okay, you are entitled to your opinion. Now, I remember that, of course, you've heard even people who really love that part where you talked about the BBI reggae perhaps should be toned down for now, and the hustling should also be toned down so that we may have the Jerusalem dance. Of course, I'm still learning the steps, but do you believe that perhaps what exactly the bishop was talking about is so open for every Kenyan to see that, of course, there are cracks already that have culminated into what you're talking about heckling yesterday?
Yes, the Kenyans are intelligent people. And of course, even the dumb ones can see because the cracks are so huge.
Yes.
And but again, going to what I liked yesterday, I also liked the fact that His Excellency the President and the Deputy openly spoke. I like that part.
Yes.
Because for long, Kenyans have asked questions. What happened between the people that we elected, these leaders? So speaking that open conversation, and I think if we move towards that direction, I think that would be good, where we actually get to know everything, if we can know everything that goes on behind the scenes. I totally agree with Bishop David Oginde that for us to be able to have a conversation with sobriety, it is extremely important that each side tones down their dance, whatever it is. Whether it is the dance of the reggae, whether it is the dance of the hustlers, whatever the dance is, it is extremely important that be toned down, because once we tone them down, we might be able to find a common ground.
Yes.
His proposal that the common ground might be the Jerusalem dance is a good suggestion.
Yes.
But we could still meet in a common ground where we just agree as Kenyans. We have
divergent views, but at least at the end of the day, we are dancing the same dance.
We could dance the Kenya one, Kenya unity, Kenya one.
Yes.
That's because all of us definitely want one Kenya. We want unity. We all want to move to the same direction.
Yes.
But if we start these conversations on this important document, the way things have been, whereby if I speak about the poor people, people interpret to mean that I am on the side of the hustlers. I belong to the hustlers. If I speak about the top leadership and maybe challenge their way of doing things, people interpret that probably I belong to the other side. I think we must drop those positions if we are going to have a sober conversation and a sober dialogue, and be able to look at exactly what are the issues that we are looking at. What are the issues? Because if we don't do that, this debate can easily get lost in the cracks of the politics that we are having. And it is true that we elected these leaders, and I think that's where normally we have a problem of balancing. The fact that we elected leaders speak on behalf of the people who elected them. That's a fact, and we cannot dispute that. But then we must also be able to distinguish between what are their personal views and their political ideologies with what they speak on behalf of the people. We don't want to go into issue of a document like constitution or on the basis of who speaks louder than the other, on the basis of you belong to this, you belong to that. We would want to go into that. And this is, and I like the first statement that Bishop Ogide said, that we have always as a church wanted peace. We stand and come from a position of peace. And we want peace for everyone. We want peace for every politician. We want peace for the hustlers. We want peace for the reggae people. Of course, we might not sing reggae ourselves as a church, because we don't subscribe to that. But if we want if we want to go the lege way, then we go lege versus gospel, which again is still division. Because if the question is between lege and gospel,
a common song, right?
We should a common song, yes.
And he talked about something very important, and especially now that we are dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic in the country and of course around the globe, talking about the family setup. A lot of issues have not been addressed. That is exact words, that a lot of issues, family issues, have not been addressed in the BBI when it comes to family setup.
It is very important that it comes out clearly that the document we received yesterday is a framework, it forms a good framework for conversations and discussions. It is not an ad in itself. Because there are so many views, so many things that are not in that document. Some have been said, like for a church, for example, right, all the way from the time of when there was the clamor for the multi-party democracy, and we went ahead talking, giving our views and our position. The very first, I remember those days I was a teacher at Karima Girls, and I was requested to go around correcting views, though I was a teacher, from the people. What people would like right from the initial stage, so that we could now make the constitution. And people were clear, the church was clear, that to the people that I met and everywhere else, that we are very interested in the family matters. Because the family is the foundation of the nation. And the family is the building block for a strong nation. If the family is strong, we'll have a stronger ward, we'll have a stronger constituency, we'll have a stronger county, we'll have a strong nation. So it is extremely important that the values, the family values that we have always spoken about in the history of this document, that they be looked into. And when Bishop Ogide speaks there and he says that these conversations are not new, they were there, it is true, because we have sat in many meetings. And it's a bit disappointing to see that the views of the church are left out. Nothing is mentioned about those family values that we have always talked about. The ethos that was brought out, they are not clear in that. I think they were ignored. Issues of marriage, issues of that touches on our freedom of worship, specifically when it comes to the registration and the recognition of the churches.
And before we go to that legislation, perhaps because of course that will lie squarely on the arms of government, what would you have wanted factored in when it comes to family setup and the values that you're talking about?
We would have wanted, and we have been clear from the beginning, that the family needs to be clearly defined and protected from all the Western and Western influences and ideologies that talks like such as abortion and things like that. We have listened to things said that are never in our African culture at all, leave alone the Christian. We would want issues of abortion to clearly be brought out, whereby the child is protected, and the definition of a human being be clearly defined from the moment of conception. So that we do not appear to believe that the human being is the one, is only the one who has been born and walking. We would want to see those rights of the unborn protected. We would want to see very clear bills on marriage and defining all that. And we would want to, we have even seen where the discussion on marriage has gone to the extreme. And when we look at it clearly, we cannot find it in our African traditional society. Who should marry who and how and all those things. Why would they be ignored? And yet they form a fundamental part of the human society. Everyone, including those politicians, come from a family, and they go back to a family, which is therefore important that the family foundations be clearly looked into.
Indeed, and still on that, do you believe the church, he talked about we as the church, we're going to read the document, and of course those things that have not been factored in, we would want to have a conversation. That was his exact words. They're coming out strongly. We think the church will come out more strongly than it did when we were passing the 2010 constitution, because as you rightfully mentioned, the church was really against issues concerning abortion. But the constitution was still passed. Do you think the church this time around will come out strongly to object things that they feel are not representing what we are talking about, family values?
The church has always come out strongly. Even then, we did come out, and we voted. The fact that we may not have found our way, or that may not have happened. The church is one institution that never gives up easily. That's why we are again now saying that now we have the opportunity, and we will speak and we will come out. And we have already started speaking that because we cannot miss this opportunity when we have already spent too much time in historically speaking about things that are fundamental to the church and to the religious views and the religious community. We will be out and we will take a position also. And that is why I said earlier that I think we need to be very objective, so that when we raise something that is not there currently in the document that was presented, it should not be taken that we are opposing the document. I think that needs to be very clear. And since it should not be taken that we are opposing the document, it should be taken that we need these things put there because the church represents over 80% of the Kenyan population, and some of them may not speak as the politicians do. They may not even have the forum to speak as they do, but that does not mean that they don't hold the view. You can prevent people from saying something, but you can't prevent them from holding the view that they do. So we will speak. We are looking at the document, and we believe strongly, and that was a good thing yesterday also. I think probably, in my view, probably 80% of the speakers yesterday acknowledged the fact that we need to read the document. I liked that. Speaker after speaker added their statement with acknowledging that we need to read the document. And I think that is so important. But we also, what I have not heard, and this is again a concern, a big concern for the church, is the issue of the civic education. That has not come out very clearly. How are we going to educate the Wanjiko down in the ground? This voluminous document, written in legal language and a language that is not Kenyan, how shall we incorporate the person on the ground, the local person? That's a huge concern that the church has, and the church believes that the best institution or people to be entrusted with civic education, it is the church. Why? Because they are non-partisan. We want good for everyone. As Bishop Oginde said yesterday, we seek the peace and the unity of the entire country. Every person from every political divide converges at the church. That is the only place that they are welcome. It is only in the church where you will find all those political ideologies sitting together, listening to the same person, praying together. So we believe strongly that we need to hear more, and that does not seem to come out there. Civic education, who is responsible for that? What is the role of the church? And
you would want the church to be more involved,
and more empowered. Currently, and in the history, we have done civic education on our own as a church because we want every person to participate in the national development and decision making. But how about recognizing the importance of the civic education and recognizing the church as the institution to take it, because we have the networks, we have the goodwill we have from the people, and we have the language, because we get to the people according to the languages they have. That part needs to be, and that is one reason why why when we go down we hear some murmuring of people feeling like they are left out, or you hear them versus us, where them means those who are in the top governance and leadership, and us, meaning those who are on the ground, because they are not represented. They are not represented.
Yes.
It is important that the person on the ground be able to hear. When I was part of the correcting of views in Kinangop, when I was a teacher in Karima, those early days when we were gathering the views, I would go to an elderly person in the village who has not been to school, and they would use certain languages to explain what they would want to. For example, they would want to talk about the position of the chief, the area chief, because that is the person they interact with very much. And it would be very difficult to exactly tell that they are saying they reduce those powers, because they would use a lot of a language that one would require time to listen. That's why I'm saying the church has that hearing ear.
Of course, we are going to be looking at the legislation, as Bishop said, and of course what you said, and also looking at the church, because sometimes it is accused of giving politicians a platform perhaps to spread hate speech, and especially now that we have a delicate document with us. But before that, hold that thought, we're going to be crossing over to Mombasa, where our reporter is speaking to the Secretary General of the Kenya National Union of Nurses, Peter Marogo. Over to you, Ann Mboro in Mombasa.
It is indeed a good morning here in Mombasa County. Bentro Njue back at Broadcasting House, and we are coming live to you from the Coast Provincial General Hospital, where I will be joined by the Kenya National Union of Nurses Secretary Bwana Peter Marogo, who is just going to tell us exactly what is happening here, because they have a few concerns that they would like to address concerning the COVID-19 measures in this county, together with the delay of salaries for the nurses in Mombasa County. So I'll be joined by Peter Marogo, who is just going to give us exactly what is really happening, because we understand that from Tuesday this week there's been a go-slow of the nurses at the Coast Provincial General Hospital in rendering their services. So karibu sana Bwana Marogo. Maybe you'll just tell us exactly what is really happening concerning your delay of salary payments and the COVID-19 measures, the concerns that you have about them.
We had a perennial delay of salaries with Mombasa County. As we know, since May of this year, the county government of Mombasa has not been able to pay salaries at the right time. And as we are speaking, the majority of our members or our workers in Mombasa County have not been paid their salaries. And in the process, we've had a go-through actually from Tuesday last week. And therefore, services have not been going on as usual. And in the process, we've had a surge in number of cases of COVID-19 in Mombasa. And for your information is that the Mombasa County has been deducting statutory deductions and other remittances like loans from our salaries, and they have not been remitting them to the various creditors of the employees of Mombasa County. And in the process, majority of our members have already been listed in the CRB as we speak. And another thing that we also want to talk about is that there is such a number of infections among our health workers. And so far, here in Mombasa, we've been able to lose two of our colleagues. Those are nurses. There's a nurse who died here last week, part one, from Mombasa County government, and then there's another one who also again died yesterday from the private sector. And that tells you that there are so many cases amongst our health workers, and therefore we are asking the national government, the county government of Mombasa, to actually take charge and actually ensure that our members are well protected, especially those who are working in outpatient and in the wards, because most cases that we are reporting from amongst our health workers is that they are happening in these departments, unlike in the isolation centers. We are also calling upon the national government through SRC and the Ministry of Labour actually to declare COVID-19 as an occupational disease, so that we are able to actually seek compensation for our employees or our workers who are dying of COVID-19. So far, COVID-19 is an occupational disease. You don't need to explain further, but it needs to be gazetted. And then now, this would allow us as employees and the union representatives to seek compensation for our health workers. And another thing the national government also should do, we had the president said that they have actually secured an insurance for our health workers who may succumb as a result of attending to patients of COVID-19. But it has not been operationalized. We've so far lost so many health workers, but we've not had any of them being compensated by any insurance company that the government may have engaged. And in the process, we actually are having disputes in the villages. Those who are dependents of these people who have died, they're actually becoming now districts because they are no longer getting the daily bread they were getting from their mothers, their fathers who have already died of COVID-19.
So does this mean that you're giving a notice of a strike soon, or what is it exactly?
What we are saying is that we are giving the county government of Mombasa a week to pay the salaries of October. We know September has been paid, but majority of our members have not seen their salaries because there are processes that have not taken place, and in the process, people are unable to go back to work. And we are saying that in the next 1 week, if they are not going to pay salaries, we shall now issue a form of strike notice. And in the, going forward, we shall now embark on a strike that will last for many days if the employer is not going to act. And we are calling upon the governor of Mombasa County to take charge of this county, because we have tried to engage his officers and we are not getting a solution, especially on the issue of salaries. If we can get a solution on salaries, then we are good to go. But if we are not going to get salaries of October in the next 1 week, as we project, then we'll now issue a formal strike notice, and then we shall go on strike without giving any regard to COVID-19.
You've talked of concerns about the COVID-19 measures. Maybe you've had the nurses dying, the others in isolation. What exactly do you want the government to do for you people? Because I've also heard that there's a Likoni Healthcare Center that has been closed down because of the issues of coronavirus.
What I know, Mombasa did so well in the first phase of these infections. We did so well, and we were able to contain the disease even before the national government. Nationally, we could. And I think that we must have down our guard. We must have dropped our guard, and we've allowed now these infections to actually go high, especially in the community and among the health workers, because it's not easier now for us to actually discern who or to detect who is infected, and in the process we are also getting infected, and we are now going to infect more and more patients will be coming to us for treatment. And we are also calling that to the Department of Health to ensure that there is sufficient and the right equipment for our health workers, especially the N95 masks should now be provided to health workers working in outpatient and in the wards, so that we are able to minimize. If all health workers become sick, who's going to take care of the patients? Then that means we will all die of COVID-19. Yeah.
Maybe you could also give us one or two of your concerns about the whole issue.
My name is Franklin Makanga, the Branch Secretary, Kenya Union of Clinical Officers. I want to say that some of the issues that have caused us to be on go slow for the last 7 days is like one, the issue of promotions. This is an issue that we have pursued for the last 2 years, since 2018, and now they are in the process of actualizing the promotions, but I want to tell them that let them speed up the process. And after issuing the letters, let them go ahead and effect those promotions in the payroll, so that our people are able to get what they rightfully deserve. Again, on the issue of salaries, I want to say this. This has been an issue. How do you expect a healthcare worker working for 30 days and you know very well that they have no other business they're doing, but they're coming to work and they're not getting their salaries? So I want to say that right now we are hearing, I treat it as a rumor, that they have paid salaries as of September, because our members have not confirmed to us that they have paid. So should they confirm to us that they have paid, they will go back to work only for a few days, because should they delay the payment of October salaries, then wembe ni ule ule. I mean, we cannot continue allowing our people exposed to corona. They are suffering, their families are suffering at the expense of their rights, which is their due wages. Yeah.
Bentry Njue, you've heard it from the horse's mouth that they're giving the county of Mombasa a 7-day notice before they give the notice of a strike. So this is all we have for you right now. Back to you in studio, Bentry Njue.
So much. Ann Mboro from Mombasa, where she was interviewing two officials, one from the Kenya National Union of Nurses and the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers, shedding light on some of the challenges that they are facing, and they would want the county government to address them, including delay in salaries, adequate protection, and of course the promotions that have been nagging not only in Mombasa County but in other counties as well. But of course Anne will be back with a more comprehensive and detailed report for our subsequent bulletin. In case you're joining us now, this is News Check. I'm Njue, and I'm joined by Bishop David Dhagana of the Glory Outreach Assembly, of course, trying to put things into perspective. The day that was, that is the BBI launch yesterday, and on the church's view. Of course, they did say that they are going to read and cross-examine the document before they can give an adequate feedback on the same. But as we have said with the bishop here, is that even in the 2010 constitution, they had issues that they wanted addressed that the church was really against, and some of the recommendations, of course, were factored in. But this time around, they're talking about there are some things that they have not seen being factored, and especially when it comes to family issues, and they would want to have a keen conversation on the same. Bishop, before we went to Mombasa, indeed we were talking about the family, the setup, and we talked about a platform. The churches, of course, have been mentioned as one of the places or one of the institutions that gives politicians a chance to propagate negative ethnicity, and that is one of the things that is being addressed, one of the key issues that was being addressed by the Building Bridges Initiative Task Force.
Yes, and rightfully so, we carry the blame for giving the platform, because when the politicians come to the church, they are very much welcome, because the church is meant for everyone. The church is like it's like a hospital where the sick people go so that they can go whole. And if you feel that you are sick in whatever way it is, the church is the right place. It's open. It's like a garage where we take our cars. Even if they are not really not moving, we take them for service. That's why it's called a Sunday service. We go to be serviced so that we can go out loving more, so that we can go out caring more, so that we can go out doing what we are not supposed we should be doing. So we cannot carry the blame for welcoming the politicians into church, because that is the place for everybody. They need to be serviced too. And we believe strongly that the Bible, which is an inspired word of God, that it speaks to everyone at whatever career, whatever position they are. And it's clear there in the scripture, in Hebrews 10:24, when we come there, we are provoked, we are stirred to do good. We go home stirred to speak nicely, to do good, to love, to care, to do whatever we were not doing, to be more humble. So it is right for them to come to church, and it's the right place. The problem, though, is it is wrong to give them the pulpit to speak hate speech or things that not for everyone, because the church is open for everyone, regardless of their political ideologies. In that church, somebody is seated there who belongs to this party or belongs to the other party or subscribes to the ideologies of this and that. So if the politician stands up and speaks, sometimes that we interpret things based on what we hold dear to us. So even if they really didn't mean bad, that's likely to happen. So it's wrong for us to give them that pulpit.
Yes.
However, striking the balance, as I said earlier, the balance that these are elected leaders. They have hundreds of thousands of votes of people who sent them to speak for them.
Yes.
They not only speak for them in parliament, but in their constituency, in the markets. And the church is no exceptional, only that it should not be in the pulpit. They can speak out there, outside there, where everyone can speak. So that is right. But when they speak, we would want to, as a church, we would want to hear the politicians exercise a bit of decorum and be able to speak in a manner that they are accommodative to their views, particularly when they are speaking to people in the church. It is dishonoring, it's disrespectful to speak any message that would divide the people, regardless of what it is. And even when we come to this BBI, because the church will still remain welcoming, it will still be open for everyone, it would be wrong for anyone to come and criticize another in the church forum.
Indeed, but some have suggested they don't need to do it at the pulpit. They can wait for the service to be over, and then perhaps they can speak to their masses outside. But that's a discussion for another day. Let's look at legislation. Bishop had raised the same thing. You also touched on it, but I wanted us to look at it after we had looked at the family ethics and ethos that I talked about in the BBI. The legislation, when it comes to maybe perhaps a keen eye on the churches or religious institutions that cropping up in the country. Of course, we need a legislation. We can't just, even when you're opening a business, you're supposed to perhaps fill in some forms and give some details on what exactly you will be doing. That is lacking, just as Bishop had talked about, and you also touched on the same.
Yes, and Njue, it's unfortunate that this conversation we have had it even before for years and years.
Yes.
And I think it is high time that the church, through this BBI process, if it's going to be relevant in any way to the church, it is high time that the issues of the registrations of the churches are addressed. We do not, we are not ignorant of the fact that there could be people who congregate and probably they do or speak things that may not be propagated to the public. But we strongly believe that the government has got mechanisms of, just like they do for the limited companies and other companies and other institutions, they have a mechanism of knowing which institution is doing what. There is no reason so far, over all these years that we have been talking about this, there is no reason that has ever been advanced as to why it became so difficult to register churches in this Kenya. Yet, the churches are the ones that hold the moral values of the society. Those same people who want to be registered are the ones who pray for this nation. They are the same platforms where the politicians learn when they want the votes. They are the people who take care of the people on the ground. They need to be, it should be easy for any Kenyan to register whatever a church or a gathering or a group that is going to be helping them to propagate their ideologies. And now we have umbrellas. We have umbrellas because initially the question that was being raised was how do we vet, how do we know what they believe and what somebody is going to be teaching. Now we have umbrellas, and those umbrellas, like I said, when I said I am here, I am also representing the Federation of Evangelical and Indigenous Christian Churches of Kenya. Those are many churches that are indigenous, that we are under the same umbrella. And I am the General Secretary. And we have a chairman, Bishop Jiriri, and a whole team of leaders. One of our mandate is to vet and to ensure that the people are teaching the right doctrine, that the people are living by the scriptures. So really, it is not right for us to be told that that we'll be vetted, or somebody else is going to supervise us from out there, and this person may not necessarily know anything about the church. We would want the process of registering the churches to become easy. It is right now easier to go to heaven than to register a church, because heaven you just repent. You know the process. Now we don't know what the process is, and yet these are fundamental things to people. We would also want not just to be another society under societies. Because what we have is about faith. We would want that in these bills, the BBI bills, we would want it to be kind of a structure whereby the church interests are protected and safeguarded. And even within the county governments, it is so important that the county governments recognize how the laws of the church in the counties and incorporate them into the administration and leadership, so that our law is not limited to just praying when we have a function, a public function, which is important. It is important to pray for that function. But it is, what about incorporating and integrating the church in the counties so that they are part of the advisory, they are part of the protection of the national ethos we are talking about, and of course we are the people with everyone. That's
Indeed. And as we wind up, what should be the role of the church, and especially now, when we have a very delicate document that is supposed to change the lives of everyone in the country?
Number one role of the church has been prayer. And we have never absconded that responsibility. We continue doing it. Even when the Constitution came out and we found that our interests were not taken care of, we did not withhold prayer. We continued praying. And you have never seen us in the streets or threatening the way you have seen in Mombasa, they are going to down the tools.
Yes.
That's what they have told us.
Yes.
We don't down our tools ourselves. We are probably the only institution that remains sober when everything else goes haywire.
Yes.
So our law for prayer will continue. And we are grateful that sometimes it takes too long, but we believe in patience. Like when we saw yesterday and saw His Excellency the President and the Deputy smiling, happy, even to the extent of the Deputy standing up and going to say something to him. That to us is answered prayer. Because the people we represent...
But you would want to see something better than that.
We
right?
want to see something better than that. Yes. But that is the result of our prayer. Because the people we represent, who are millions in this country, they have no joy in seeing people looking at each other, away from each other. The faces cannot meet in public meetings. Yet we believe that when leaders are in position, that God put them there because we prayed. So we still believe strongly that His Excellency the President and his deputy that are there leading us because God put them for the time that they are going to be there because we prayed and we voted. So that's our belief.
Yes.
So for us to see them smiling, just joking a little bit with each other, that was part of the peak of the moment. And of course, listening to the views of each other, that is so important. So we will continue to pray. You ask me for the law, we will continue to pray. Right from the top, that there will be more unity.
Yes.
We want to see more than what we saw yesterday. Yes. But we are grateful for what we saw. We are grateful for even the listening to each other, the divergent views. We also have a law of civic education, which we continue to do without, whether it is entrenched in this BBI or recognized, we still do it. But we would do a better job as a church if it is clearly understood and recognized that the church has the networks, has the people, has the goodwill, has the welfare of the nation at heart. If it is understood that we drive the process as a church for civic education and be funded by the government. We have the law of uniting the leaders, and we continue doing that. And we will continue to educate and to speak. We are the voice of reason when everything else goes wrong. So those are our laws.
Thank you.
And we continue doing that.
Indeed, thank you so much, Bishop. That has been Dr. Bishop David Dagana of the Glory Outreach Assembly. Of course, he wears other hats, but powerful words, and especially on the civic education, because a lot of people do look at the church to actually provide a lot. And indeed, before I leave, I see Timothy Kipnusu is on standby for Tamrini, but we have JD Robbie Mkaliwao watching from Homa Bay. Paul Kings, you're tuned in from County 0001, that is Mombasa, watching from Nairobi, Githurai. Robin Onyando, Kolasinach Kolo, and of course a number of your comments, of course. So the youth don't mind about governance because the 2010 Constitution has everything they are talking about, but no will to implement. That is Nelson Isavwa. The show is good. John from Sona Records in Kisii, thank you so much for watching, and let's continue this conversation via our various social media platform. Third Way Alliance is also issuing its views on the BBI. That is what I leave you with. I'm Bentro Njue. Lucy Moura has been our sign language interpreter for this hour. Timothy Kipnusu is coming up next with Tamrini. Good afternoon.
Third Way Alliance Kenya's initiative is a document that speaks to the needs of Mwananchi, hence the acknowledgement by the BBI task force. The Punguza Mizigo Kenya initiative has the interest of Mwananchi at heart, and we know that His Excellency the President, his very able deputy, and the former Prime Minister have the same interest too. That is why they mooted the BBI idea in order to bring the country together so as to enable the national conversation on issues that have beleaguered the country for a long time, especially in matters relating to the electoral cycle. Let that all-inclusive national conversation now begin. without leaving anyone behind, as His Excellency the President decreed. The country is in dire need of salvaging, and we have offered a solution in our 10-point Punguza Mizigo Kenya initiative with proposals that will, if adopted, solve a myriad of problems facing the Mwananchi who have embraced it, as evidenced by the number of signatures collected so far. Punguza Mizigo Kenya proposals have given clear solutions to the stated issues amongst many others, and we feel that PMK and the BBI proposals, being the two initiatives currently on the table, could reach a nexus, bringing the two together, hence offering Kenyans a chance to have a robust national conversation regarding relevant amendments to the Constitution, whilst those that require legislation in the BBI report to be canvassed in Parliament if and when the High Court gives directions on the advisory by the Chief Justice, which is a matter we have also thrown in our thoughts in the High Court petition number E302 to be heard by the bench that was recently constituted. 3, we want also to address ourselves on the issue of toxic leadership or politics in the country. Now, during the next 2 years, we look towards a possible referendum and the 2022 general elections that Third Way Alliance Kenya calls upon the political leadership of this country to shun intolerance despite divergent views and opinions, since, as well have witnessed time and time again, it fosters hatred and breeds violence to the nation. Third Way Alliance is concerned that the ongoing political moment on amending the Constitution seems oblivious of the Maraga advisory asking the President to dissolve Parliament. The advisory in itself is already a test of how serious we take our current Constitution and the commitment to give it life through its implementation and strict adherence. As a party, we therefore offer our unsolicited advice to the BBI proponents to consider putting the reggae on hold until the 5-judge bench advises on the legitimacy of the referendum process in the absence of a legitimate parliament. We are specifically concerned about the rush to pass the referendum bills into law when the real possibility of getting the law rendered unconstitutional in the High Court is very likely, following the Chief Justice David Maraga's advisory. We pray that we find it in ourselves to accommodate each other for a peaceful, all-inclusive, progressive, and democratic Kenya. Mungu aibariki Kenya. Asanteni sana.
Asante sana. Thank you so much, Deputy National Chair and Deputy Organizing Secretary, for reading the statement. Now, as I said, I want to give a summary of this statement. I'll do a summary in English and I'll do a summary in Kiswahili for the benefit of your viewers who understand Kiswahili. What we are saying as a party, we are stakeholders in the constitutional amendment process. If you recall, Third Way Alliance Kenya started, were the first, in fact, we are the only party today that is talking about who started the constitutional amendment process in 2018 February. We went ahead and did Punguza Mizigo 1 that unfortunately collapsed at the county assembly. Then we started Punguza Mizigo 2, a revamped called Punguza Mizigo Kenya. And we want to thank the other proponents of constitutional amendment, the BBI, because they have seen it fit that Punguza Mizigo issues that we presented before them during the validation, the 15 issues, over 6 of them are in the Punguza Mizigo document. One of them, we were the first people to propose the increment of the equitable share to the counties to at least 35%, so that you can develop the counties. We were the party that also proposed the Ward Development Fund so that you can take development beyond the county headquarters. And because we understand that the issues of this country the burden is greatest at the ward level. That is where the socio-economic rights have not been achieved. Schools, hospitals, water, electricity, all those must now be measured or implemented from bottom at the ward level. And we are glad BBI is thinking the same. We are glad that BBI is thinking about what we call enhancing the elusive gender role. Third Way Alliance proposed a formula of how we are going to achieve that. So in essence, what we are saying, we are speaking the same language. That language is the language of national conversation. That now that we are engaging in this national conversation, and we appreciate what BBI has done, and also we thank them for having seen it fit that Punguza Mizigo is a document worthy of implementing by accommodating over half of what we had. That is very good. Now, sisi kama chama ambacho kinaongozwa na wanachama la baraza kuu la NEC, tumesema kwamba mazungumzo ya marekebisho ya katiba ni mazungumzo ya kitaifa, kwa sababu tunarekebisha katiba kwa niaba au kwa minajili ya mwananchi wa kawaida. Hatuwezi sema tunarekebisha katiba ya Third Way, ni katiba ya Kenya mwaka 2010 ndio tunarekebisha. Wale wenzetu wanafanya vile vile. Na ukiangalia ile ripoti ya BBI, kuna mambo zaidi ya 5 ambayo tulipendekeza zikaidhinishwa na wananchi wa Kenya katika ripoti ya punguza mzigo au mswada punguza mzigo. Yale mambo yako pale. Mojawapo ikiwa kuongeza ile ugavi ambao unaenda katika serikali za ugatuzi kutoka asilimia 15 hadi asilimia 35. Tukasema kwamba lazima sasa tutumie wodi kama kiundo msingi cha maendeleo kupitia ile fund ambayo tunaita Ward Development Fund. Vile vile wale wamesema hivyo. Tukasema ile usawa wa jinsia katika bunge itekelezwe, kwa sababu wakina mama hawajafika pale. Wale vile vile wamesema vile. Ndio maana tunasema kwa sababu sisi mapendekezo yetu baadhi yao yanaambatana na yao, basi inamaanisha mazungumzo ya kitaifa kuhusu marekebisho ya katiba yashaanza rasmi. Na tunasema kwa yale ambayo tunaamini kama chama hayaja kuwa katika ile ripoti, sisi kama wanachama tutayasukuma, kwa sababu pia tunaamini kwamba hayo marekebisho ni muhimu zaidi. Mojawapo ikiwa ile pesa ambayo inatumika kuendeleza shughuli za bunge, lazima hiyo pesa iregeshwe chini. Kwa sasa chairman wangu ambaye ni mhasibu atatuambia kwamba sasa hivi ni bilioni 36. Sisi tumependekeza ile pesa irudi chini hadi bilioni 5. Haijalishi, tunaweza kuwa na wabunge hata 1000 Kenya hii. Tunaweza hata kuweka executive ikuwe watu 10. Lakini ile pesa ambayo wanalipwa kama mishahara lazima izingatie uchumi wa Kenya. Na ndio maana sisi tunasema katika uchumi hii, ile mzigo mzito zaidi ambayo Wakenya wanabeba ni mzigo wa kijinsia na mzigo wa kiuchumi. Na ndio maana tukasema basi kama hayo ndio ya muhimu, wale wenzetu wa BBI washakubaliana na sisi wakachukua mapendekezo zaidi ya 5 zetu. Sasa haya ambayo yamebaki tuzungumze kama wananchi, tuzungumze kama Wakenya, ili tunapokaribia marekebisho ya katiba tutakuwa Kenya.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
To announce Ashok as my successor. Otherwise, she knows how Ashok can be given his rights.
Did Queen Dharma say so?
Made a mistake, Acharya.
You definitely have. And there is no doubt about it. I want to hear the truth, Ashok.
I don't have much time left. Please help me. By tomorrow morning, he will leave us forever.
Hadn't I told you that you shouldn't even come close to my son, Dharma? Go away.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Unamtafuta.
Z.
Utamtafuta.
Ongoi sijui.
What are you going on about? You have your place in his life. You always will. You're his family. More like a trailer. Easily detached when not needed.
Decide what you want, Wanjala. Go for it.
What did you do?
I followed him home.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
Kiachana mimi.
Laki achane. Huyu ni mtu wa legend.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Seems you need to take better care of your wife because she takes advantage of every opportunity to get close to Ramon.
Sophia,
I am not prepared to lose you, Ramon.
I don't want to have anything to do with you. This is over, Sophia. I've had enough. It's over. I'm done playing the fool over again.
Francisco, calm down. You're really starting to scare me.
Andrea and I love each other.
What's that?
Yes, we have been in love all our lives.
I'm not letting you leave.
Let go of me! I never want to see you again.
In love with Ramon.
KBC, in collaboration with the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, is broadcasting enhanced out-of-class learning on radio, television, and online. Catch the lessons every weekday on KBC Channel 1 from 2 to 4 p.m. on KBC English Service and 15 FM from 9:15 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Radio Taifa from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m.